Okay, God's been kind of clarifying, like what demons are, and like I'm very aware that Satan is in V2k at the moment, and he's kind of taking me through, what his personality is like and stuff like that, and like how he takes people down. He kind of comes across as this very sort of chilled musician type, with the leather trousers and um, you know, looks like, all those sort of white snake or whatever are called, sort of bands, where they're in the leather trousers, and he's kind of chilled. He's kind of letting me know that, like that narcissist that you went out with, he's like got that personality type where anything can happen to him, and he's kind of chilled, like the way these women that he attracts, because like he's like very glowy, and like attracts women and stuff like that, and they're doing all these rituals with him, and he's kind of letting them kind of use their imagination, with him, like their satanic rituals. I don't know if he actually says anything to mislead them into thinking that these rituals are more valid than what they really are. I'm getting the impression that rituals are not valid at all. They're just like a made up mindset, and they're like crushing me at the moment. I can hardly breathe. Um, and like I was like looking at these alternative witches, well, they're all alternative, like being kind of, kind of into the look, but not actually the sacrificial parts and all the darkness that comes with it. And like, it's like God is making me very aware, the cost of sin. Like these witches, they do stuff, behind the scenes to other people covetously. And like you can see that it's got an effect on them, like it's within their attitude that they hate everything. They're constantly snipping people down, and they think this is cool, but it's kind of pointless, really. Like the way that you get insulted all the time. Yeah, so you got like these witches with attitude, which is something the alternative community tends to suffer with quite a lot, because, as I say, it's a bit of a cool thing to snip each other down and make each other as miserable as possible with their kind of bitchy intent. And God's telling me that, like, because they're participating in sin, they're kind of wearing it, in their attitude, and what they put on their face and stuff, like the ways they pierce themselves or have like ridiculous kind of modifications to the faces just to kind of like stand out and be rebellious and stuff like that. He's saying that, like when you actually commit sin, and you hurt his other brethren, he literally like splashes back, like the demons splash back onto you, like this participant. Like when you commit an act of sin, like God's wrath is like that actually splashes back onto the person in some demonic form. So, like when you hurt the universe that way, you wear the sin of your actions, so you don't get away with it. Like, and I'm trying to work out, like when people are sinful towards you, like you actually get a set of demons as well, like, my exes, with the way they treated me, they're really pulling my waist into the point I can't breathe, V2k. They don't want me to come across with this message, like this is an act of sin now. So, they're going to pay for what they're doing right now. That, they're going to have more demons come back onto them, and God's kind of letting them know, via Satan, because he's under his realm, what, like this psychotic nature of God is, like this wrathful part of him. I know that, Satan went wandering where he shouldn't have, and he wears this demonic armour, like to devour and stuff. So, like God's showing me that, like the technical in and outs of like what sin is and the reproductions of it. Like it's just not worth going there, you know. And these people, you know, can be seen. I can actually feel their frequencies now. God's training me, you know, like to recognise the frequencies. So, you know, that you know exactly who they are, you know, for future reference. So if I get any more information, I'll partake in it. It's just not worth, you know, like the more sin you do, the more it gets worse, you know, like the more of you disappears and burns up, you know, like that you find it less appealing to come back to God because you don't recognise the light anymore. You know, like you've got that, I don't know if it's that film, Never Ending Story, the meaningless nothing that takes you over, you know, like where you've got no faith in anything. And if everyone's operating in sin towards each other, you know, there's nothing left to hold on to, and even like the worst of the worst need some sort of structure, you know, that does offer light, you know, like once that's gone, you know, you end up like one of these, you know, like Muslim countries where, like, you know, like people just operate on fighting and like killing, and like they need the light too, you know. I can't breathe. They really don't want me to send this message across. So that's all I can think of for now. There was something else, but it's gone. Okay, thank you.